Yeah, well, I got engaged to a young lady. In fact, I think it's 2000. Got engaged, but she went to work in Australia, and I went out there for 5 years, and it didn't quite work out how I planned it to. But I found myself back in the UK 5 weeks later rather than 5 years later. I literally, it was, she was the girl for me, but unfortunately, you know, I messed it up, and that's, you know, that's just, you know, I think blokes go through that sort of, well, I certainly did, a cock it up stage. Yeah, so I went out to Mozambique. In fact, I bumped into this girl just before I went, but literally, I mean, you could write off 5 years of pain that I went through, of just pain and regret, of not being able to be with this girl, and because it didn't work out, my heart was aching. You know, I think I'd cry sort of once or twice a day, you know, for years. You know, it would just be so fresh in my mind. I got a big job in my first big job in Sloane Square. Made quite a lot of money in just one day on the supply of this kitchen and the wardrobes that I was going to fit for this lady. But even still, the money, it was just irrelevant. You know, I'd made all this money, but it was, my heart was really hurting. And I remember one time, I was at Stratford train station, and I thought to myself, oh, this pain, it hurts too much. And the train was coming along, and I thought to myself, why don't you just jump in front of the train? And I just heard this little voice inside me say, don't do it. It was just a small, still voice, so obviously I didn't do it. And then I think a year passed and I was still in pain, and, you know, regret, you know, if only I'd have done this, if only I'd have done that, you know, if I hadn't have flown back to, you know, if I hadn't have left Australia, you know, things might have turned out differently. But I was still hurting, and I thought, right, that's it, you know, you haven't got the guts to do it yourself. So I thought, right, I want to go to Pakistan and Afghanistan just for one purpose, and that was to get a bullet in the head. And I've been up to get my visa from the Knightsbridge, Pakistan embassy. And I was literally, I come back for, I went out with a mate of mine for a drink, like a see you later drink. And I mean, this is a friend of mine, he comes from a very, very good family, but he got caught up in drugs. And he started taking crack cocaine. Basically, it was just all right, Mick, I'm off. You know, I'm going to Pakistan. You know, I said to him, I'm going trekking. And he said to me, look, he split up with his wife, his kids, ruined his whole life. And he said to me, he said, look, I've been off crack now for a month now. He said, I'm going to cycle to Austria. He said, do you fancy coming? And by this time I'd had about 5 pints of Stella. And I went, yeah, all right, okay. And then we left 2 weeks later. So we went to cycle to Austria. I had one puncher in 750 miles. He basically, he didn't quite get back with his family, but the things are good for the children. Yeah, so I come back still hurting. And I heard Femi say that there's another trip going out to Mozambique. And I thought to myself, Steve, you know, you've got to give yourself to something bigger than just feeling the pain of regret and of life and the loss of a relationship. So I went back onto the mission field with Femi in 2008.
So you've got all this stuff taking place, you haven't got a bullet in the head. After 5 pints you cycle hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, which is quite good going after 5 pints.
Too extreme as well.
Yeah, all right, don't boast. Just because we can't do it. So you've done all this kind of stuff. What does the future hold for you? You're obviously thinking, okay, God, I want to live my life for something and somebody bigger than myself. You've got skills. You're a chippy. In fact, you're not just a chippy. I know you're a bit of a fancy cabinet making kind of person as well. But you're a joiner, all right. So you're good with all that. You've obviously got a heart for missions, a heart for travelling around the world. Something significant happened in your heart when you went to Mozambique. You know what it's like to see desperation. You've been on the receiving end and been in desperation yourself. What does the future hold for you? What are you doing?
Right, when I was out in Mozambique, this time gone past, we did the same things that we did before. We went to Boqueria. I went to prison, shared my testimony in prison. We fed the street kids. But there was a trip going to the hospital, and I thought to myself, I don't really want to go to the hospital because I know what it's going to be like. Again, I thought to myself, well, Steve, you're over here for a reason. You know, you just go and have a look. And we had to go and pray for people. And I mean, as a Christian, I don't really like praying for people, but I know I should do. But you know, I went along, and it was the same as Boqueria, a complete situation that was an utter hopelessness. I mean, the hospital was slightly better than Boqueria. When we was in Boqueria, there was an old lady sitting by a bin liner full of food, and flies were all around it. And Femi, we went over and we prayed for this lady, and there was another guy there. I think his name was Greg, but he was just looking. He was standing there. We was about 50 metres away, and he was just staring into space. You know, complete hopelessness. And we went and we had a chat with him. I gave him my shirt off my back, and he was like quite pleased. Probably would have sold it for a good price, but when we went to the hospital, it's something that really broke inside of me. Really gave me a lesson in humility.